So, today we're diving into a really fascinating new scientific paper. It lays out a groundbreaking methodology for the modern wine supply chain, one that weaves together process efficiency, digital technology, and sustainability into one single powerful system. And this question right here gets straight to the heart of the matter. If you're in the wine industry, it can feel like you're constantly juggling these three things. But what if you didn't have to choose? What if the key to being great at one was actually being great at all three at the same time? So here's the game plan for this explainer. We'll start with the modern winemaker's dilemma, then look at this new three-part recipe they've cooked up. We'll break down the framework, the what and the how. Then we'll get into a real-world case study with Primitivo, check out the results, and finally, ask what this means for the future of winemaking. All right, so first up, let's really set the stage and define the core problem this whole methodology is trying to solve. You see, wineries today are just getting squeezed from all sides. You've still got the traditional challenges, right? Guaranteeing quality, keeping costs in check. But now, on top of all that, there's this huge push for digitalization and sustainability. And of course, there are always new regulations and customer expectations. The old ways of doing things are really starting to struggle. So instead of trying to patch things up with separate piecemeal solutions, this paper proposes an integrated recipe that combines three really powerful existing ideas. The first ingredient is Lean Six Sigma. Think of this as the foundation for just running a tight ship. It's all about using data to get rid of waste and reduce variability in your process. That way, you're consistently delivering the quality that your customer actually wants and values. Okay, next up, we bring in the tech. Industry 4.0 is like the digital nervous system for the winery. We're talking sensors, Internet of Things devices, AI, all the good stuff. This gives you the real-time data you need to monitor, control, and fine-tune the entire production process as it's happening. And the final piece of this puzzle is the circular economy. This is the sustainability framework. It's a total shift in thinking, away from that old take, make, waste model. Suddenly, byproducts like pomace or lees aren't waste anymore. They're valuable resources that can be upcycled into something new. And this right here is the real magic of the whole thing. I mean, plenty of wineries might be dabbling in one of these areas, but the true innovation, the real power, comes from weaving them all together into a single cohesive system where each part actually makes the others stronger. So that's the big idea. But how does it actually work in practice? Well, the methodology gives us both a what and a how. The what is this conceptual framework you see here, which is basically a massive toolbox. And notice how it's organized across the whole supply chain, the vineyard, the cellar, and distribution. For each stage, it gives you a whole menu of specific tools and practices, pulled from Lean Six Sigma, Industry 4.0, and the circular economy, so a winery can pick and choose the best solutions for its specific problems. And the how? Well, that's where the DMAIC cycle comes in. It's this superstructured 5-step engine for making things better. First, you define what you're trying to achieve. Then, you measure how things are working now. Next, you analyze the data to find the real root cause of any issues. Then, you improve the process using those tools from the toolbox. And finally, you control the process to make sure you keep those improvements. It's a scientific approach to getting better, step by step. Okay, theory is great, but let's see how this thing actually performs in the real world. We're going to look at a case study at a winery in Italy. So our scene is an organic winery in Apulia that specializes in Primitivo, and they had a very clear goal. They wanted to expand into new international markets. But to do that, they knew they had to get a handle on the quality variations in their wine, which was an issue they were hearing about from customers. So have a look at this. This process map is where the winery started. Now, at first glance, it looks pretty standard, right? But once they applied that DMAIC cycle and really dug into their data, they found the root cause of their quality problem. It was a 1-2 punch of outdated procedures and just a total lack of real-time data from the vineyard and the cellar. And this quote from the paper just hits the nail on the head. Basically, their vineyards were producing grapes with different levels of potential, but they were just throwing them all into the same process. They weren't taking advantage of the natural diversity of their own land. And this was the big breakthrough. Instead of one uniform process, they created what they call an ingredient-based methodology. They used their data to identify 3 different grape clusters and then designed a unique vinification process for each one. The idea was to create 3 distinct base wines, or ingredients, one with high acidity, one that was balanced, and one with more structure and alcohol. Then they could blend these together to craft the final product. And here's the aftershot. You can literally see the new strategy in action. See those 3 separate streams for each ingredient? And see those little icons for digital monitoring? That's Industry 4.0 being put to work. And look at the byproduct flows. The pomace is now being turned into compost and distillate. That's the circular economy in practice. So they basically re-engineered their entire system. It was definitely more complex, more data-driven. But the million-dollar question is, did it actually work? Did it make better wine?
Oh yeah, big time. In blind tastings with both consumers and importers, over 70% of people preferred the new wine, the one made with this integrated methodology. That is a massive market-validated improvement. And the good news didn't stop with the taste. By optimizing fermentation, they slashed their production lead time. They created totally new value from their byproducts. The new digital tools actually made the staff's jobs easier and cut down on errors. And they captured all this new knowledge in a best practice manual to standardize their success. It wasn't just one win. It was a victory across the board. So you can see this case study is more than just a single winery's success story. It really points to a huge potential shift for the entire industry. Just look at the difference here. We're talking about a fundamental shift, away from putting out fires and making decisions based on intuition, and toward designing systems that are proactive and data-driven. In this new model, quality, efficiency, and sustainability aren't things you trade off against each other. They're all integrated outcomes of a smarter process. So the final question this paper leaves us with is a challenging one we should probably all be asking ourselves. Are we still just solving problems in isolation, or are we ready to build a truly integrated system for the future?